Shalom. First, I want to give all glory and praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakha Kodash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, rule well and who have taught us knowledge through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Honors and salutations to you fellow laborers doing the work in truth and in sincerity, especially during these times. Shalom to the few Akwaf that believe as well. A hearty shalom to you other laborers and believers that are scattered throughout the face of the earth, even if you're among the heathen, and even like the heathen who are the speckled Israelites. To the household of faith, which is the elect, I want to say shalom to you. I'm with the brother Shakya, and just doing a quick in-transit video based on the video I watched, and we're going to get right into it because the Edomites, which are the rival, or the top rival nation of us Israelites, you're starting to see their laughter and joy become mourning and lamenting. And, of course, Sirach 25 goes into, the three things. Matter of fact, grab Sirach 25, Bob Gusha. Speaks about the fall of our enemies. Because that's one of the things right there that's beautiful, man. You see the fall of the nation that afflicted us the most, or at the head of our affliction, along with the other nations. They're the ones that spearheaded those, the Edomites. So you can read it.
Sirach 25 and verse 7. There be 9 things which I have judged in my heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that hath joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy.
Yeah, so, man, this is what we're doing. We're living right now spiritually, and we're coming up as a nation, starting with the elect. All right, then the elect is being assembled and joined together, and at the same time, we're watching the decline, the fall of our number one enemy, according to the scriptures. All right, which is the Edomites. When you go to Psalms 83, it mentions Edom first. And then it even mentions Amalek, because Amalek is the chief of the nations. The people that control, they're the top, man. They're the powers that be. They're the banking families. They're the ones that have our land into their possession and are fighting the so-called Arab nations around about them, the Amalekites, which we call the tiny tops or small hats. They're the top, okay? All right, so it mentions them as well in Psalms 83. All right, so right now we're seeing Edomites cry out because they thought that they would always have it better than us, but their government is showing them that he don't give a shit about them as well. The scriptures say what? He does even to himself, to whom would it be good? So your own rulers, all right, your own rulers don't give a shit about you.
If I may add, because at the brother crib, I'm one crib, over there it's straight up, it's a Jake neighborhood, But now I'm seeing Edomites, straight up Edomites moving in over there, So now I was like, I pointed it out to the brother, like, hey, you see, this is a indication that, hey, these niggas is falling,
That was the thing. They were able to live in their own neighborhoods and not be around Jake. They had the rural areas. The rural areas, I call them the country parts, that same shit. But, the suburban areas, that's all was, Edomite territory where they lived in the best neighborhoods and had, better stores in their communities. But now they're, they're down here in the ghetto, so to speak. The hoods, along with us. It's not going well with them. So let's play this video clip. I want to say fair use under the 1976 Section 107 Fair Use Act. My videos are not monetized. I'm not making any conversations off these videos. Only for literary, commentary, and educational purposes. So with that, fair use. Let's dig into this. I'll probably let a couple minutes play. But again, fair use.
$1,218.67. Yeah, for one building.
The rising cost of utilities definitely does have some effect on the reason we're going to just under one roof.
After we went through our first year, we looked at the electric bill, we looked at the rent, we realized we were not going to make enough money. So we had to raise the rent. And that was what started a lot of the rift with the West Virginians, that we were going to have to raise the rent when they'd had camping the same way for so many years.
You're getting $1,300 to $1,500 bills for electric. And West Virginia has decided that they're going to run on coal for at least 2040. You don't have a choice when it comes to electric and water. And so, you can't decide to just not have electric for that month. We're seeing businesses lock up, businesses are closing.
I try to stay so positive and look towards the future, and bigger plans. But sometimes it's just so sad, walking down there, seeing it.
Like, from here down was counters. I had an ice cream freezer, and then I had my bakery case.
I was getting ready. Like, I had a bunch of stuff made up and everything, and was getting ready for Valentine's Day, because holidays were $700 to $1,000 days. So I would have had the money if I could have just got 2 days. Just 2 days. We closed down on the 12th. The electric being so high made me struggle on pretty much everything else. Once I got behind, it was like I could not dig out of that hole.
Yeah, man. So, we're seeing these people, all right, that, hated us. They hate us and rule over us with rigor. They're in mourning. Okay, this is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 7. It says, I put that with the Genesis Shalaki. Deuteronomy 30 and verse 7, and it reads, "And the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee." All right, and again, the book of Psalms 83 goes into that. And again, it mentions who? Edom first. Who's ruling Babylon the Great? Who's in the ruling seat, period? It's the Edomites. Begin with their elites, So the Lord is starting to put the curses upon them. And matter of fact, we can visit some of these curses, right? Deuteronomy 28 and 15. Sorry, not 15, but verse 16. It says, "Cursed shalt thou be in the city." Remember, the Lord said he's going to put the curses on them, right? So this is the curse we got to go through, right? I'm going to read verse 16. Deuteronomy 28 verse 16. "Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field." All right? You read NLT, your towns and your fields, right? Your Edomite towns are cursed now. They're shutting down in West Virginia. And other areas of the country like that. Why? Because they had it good over there. Those lands, you go to the mountains, there's communities all through the mountains. All kind of farming land through there. They got their own, businesses, and stores and restaurants. But they're closing down due to high energy costs. So it ain't just us feeling it. Verse 17, it says, but one thing about Jake, we used to struggling. We used to be on the bottom. We used to having nothing. Jake is resilient, so-called Negro, Latino, and the American people, which we're the true Israelites of the Bible, we're resilient. Because through all that struggle, we still managed to persevere through it somehow, some way. It's because of the Lord, though. Psalms 124. If it had not been for the Lord on our side, man, then would have swallowed us up, Roughly paraphrasing, but let's continue on. Verse 17. Curse shall be thy basket and thy store. See? It's over, man. It's over, man. You don't have the stores you once had. You heard the lady. She if she had 2 more days, she could have continued on, but those 2 days were so crucial to her that she had to shut down. You know? Verse 18. I'm going to just go through a few of these curses. You go to Baruch 4, I know. Miserable are they that afflicted thee. Okay. Verse 18. Curse shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land with their children. They don't got no future to look forward to. They children ain't got no, they don't have nothing to hand off to their children anymore. Like, you know, you have like a, inheritance. They were able to give their children inheritance. That shit's going out the window now. So, just like we ain't had no inheritance passed to our children, I ain't receiving them from my grandparents. Most time our parents died, we got to pay off a debt they still had to pay. Or pay for their funeral because they ain't had no money to pay for their own funeral. Shit like that. So we used to it. It says, the increase of thy kind and the flocks of thy sheep. Oh, the farmers. The farmers are closing, they closing down. And there's some farms around. Shit, there's farms here in Indiana. I know about them. I know where they at. Cattle farms. You know, chicken farms. But a lot of them closing down due to high agriculture costs. And then what's the biggest thing is no fertilizer. The fertilizer they depend on, they can't get right now because of the Straits of Hormuz. So that's, hey, I'm enjoying it, man. I'm enjoying seeing you might suffer, man. You got some out?
Baruch 4.
Mm-hmm.
I started 30. Baruch 4 and verse 30. It says, take a good heart, O Jerusalem, for he that gave thee that name will comfort thee. And it's comforting to see these prophecies come to pass, right? Because we're seeing the downfall of our enemy, all right? They look down upon us all throughout the years, all right? You know, and seen us in the lowest state, you know? Benefited off of us on the lowest state. But now, hey, y'all coming into our shoes, you know? It says, miserable are they that afflicted thee, and rejoice that they fall. Miserable are the cities which thy children served. Miserable is she that received thy sons. For as she rejoiced at thy ruin, and was glad of thy fall, so shall she be grieved for her own desolation. For I will take away the rejoicing of her great multitude, and her pride shall be turned into mourning.
Well, about Salaki, the woman, you heard the woman, she was grieved.
Yeah.
That motherfucker was, that Edomite cunt was fucking, she was lamenting.
Imagine what she doing off camera. I said, imagine what she doing off camera.
Yeah, she crying on camera, so imagine, you know, remember Esau wept bitterly, so it's in their genes. Go ahead.
Yep. So hey, it said the Lord is taking away the rejoicing of the multitude. You know, they don't really got nothing to look forward to. You know, here in this society. All right, because Esau, Edom, you know, the elites, they're breaking this bitch down to a point where you're gonna have to totally rely on them. You know, it's not gonna be you're gonna have your business, you make a little extra money. Nah, you know, Esau, Edom, or the elites, which they are of Esau, you know, they're pushing everybody to rely on their system. You know, they're gonna make everybody desperate. All right, and this is we're at that point now where shit's about to start getting desperate for niggas. You know. Yeah,
total dependency on the government. That's what they're pushing everybody to. Yep. So, hey man, you know, I got one more precept I'm gonna bring out. This is the book of you know, you see they're laughing and rejoicing coming to an end, and that's beautiful because, like the brother, you know, like we both said, man, you know, the fall of our enemy is a joyful thing for us. This is the book of Luke, chapter 6. Shalaki. chapter 6 and verse 25, and it reads, "Woe unto you that are full, for you shall hunger." Yeah, they had the best food. You see the Edomites, they be growing up big and tall and shit because they got access to good or better, way better food than we did. But now they live in in the same areas as we living in. Now they're shopping at the same stores we shop at. It says, "Woe unto you that laugh now, for you shall mourn and weep." Right? No more laughing now. That laughing is going out the window, man. Now your ass sitting there mourning because your life is falling apart before your very eyes, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's nothing you can do about it. You're sitting there hoping that your government come in and rescue you. They're not. Excuse me. They're not going to help you. They're not going to rescue you. Matter of fact, they're the ones that's causing you to fall as far as your lives to fall into decay. And when these Edomites get to losing their daily or normal life as it was, they start to delete themselves. So don't be surprised, because you had a lot of farmers deleting themselves. They would rather delete themselves than to be living in poverty. Because farming was big business. Farming, you had wealth, you had money. That was a generational wealth you were able to pass down if you had a farm. But now that's no more, man. That's coming to an end because we're at the end of Babylon. Okay? So with that, I'm going to close. I want to give our honor, glory, and praises again to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. All right, shalom to the next time. Lord willing, we'll see you in the next video. I want to say shalom to the elect and Baba Ball, shalom.